Good evening, campers, dreamers, and babysitters. And yes, we have some new news for you folks to discuss, and it is not sad, not disappointing, and it has nothing to do with Scream. No, we are talking about Thanksgiving 2 getting confirmed today from Sony, and we heard it from the man himself, Eli Roth. This is some exciting stuff. Luke, how do you feel? You got your Thanksgiving shirt on. We're both big fans of the film, but how are you feeling right now?
I'll tell you, I'm still riding the high of that theater experience, to be honest. We did the review, we did a spoiler review, and I think in both those videos we had mentioned how much we want a second film out of this, and there are some films out there that, you enjoy. I bring up something like maybe like a Barbarian where it's a great one-off. You don't necessarily need any more from that universe, but instantly as soon as we walked out of Thanksgiving, we were talking about the potential for a sequel. So to see all these news sites pick up that article, Eli Roth himself officially announced it. I mean, that high is going to be going on for weeks now that we know that we're getting a sequel.
Yes, and it's awesome that we are getting Eli Roth back in the director's chair. He put out a little Instagram video. One of the things that I'm gonna kind of do my little, probably blowing it out of the water, creating a bunch of unnecessary noise for everybody to get excited about or angry about, is that Eli Roth did say, "I have always wanted to hone or helm a my own slasher series." And when he said series, I'm just like, man, I mean, I'm really hoping that this turns into maybe a Thanksgiving 3, Thanksgiving 4, and we could really, like I said in our review, I just want like a goofy number of these, just like an old time, 80s slasher. I just really want to get a bunch of them, and you can just keep going. And I really think that the route that they should take with this is just they did a really wonderful job about playing into those tropes that we all love from, the 70s, 80s slashers. Keep going with that. See what didn't work for some of those films. Maybe rethink it. Maybe try to put some of that on its head. Like there's a million different directions they can go here. So, Luke, what do you think is the next step for Thanksgiving?
You look at the title Thanksgiving, and all I see are possibilities. I think that initial film there, they did such a great job of opening up the town of Plymouth and really having the audience invested in the kills, the characters that we've seen, and really wanting to live in that space. So looking at this sequel, I think, you could really go any which way you want to here. We looked at the original Thanksgiving and we said Eli Roth has a great handle on that slasher formula, the formula that we're so used to from the 80s. And that one was was a really regular tone to almost hit that reset button. As soon as we ended one, we opened up with a bunch of new camp counselors or just new kids in general. So I could see him potentially injecting some new life into a sequel while still maintaining some old faces. I think necessarily do we need to develop the story more with the characters that we see in the first one? Not necessarily. I think we did get some sort of closure there, but if we brought everyone back, I wouldn't be opposed to it. And then just the idea of Sheriff Newland coming back, where you looks like for us as a horror audience, we're always expecting more, but for the patrons of Plymouth, they've probably closed that chapter and said, he is dead and he's not coming back. But when the killings start happening, we see the John Carver face again. You can't help but think Sheriff Newland may be around the corner. So I think, kind of building that tension of that looming presence of if he's there, is he not? Is this a new character or, someone taking up the mantle for Sheriff Newland? I don't know. I think all those ways are interesting. All I know is I'm happy to see more Thanksgiving killings.
Absolutely. And, I really like the idea of, I know some people might hate this comparison, but like, what if we even took just like the Halloween Ends formula and we really did what everybody kind of was thinking that film was going to be, where we had the imposter, running around, killing people, trying to almost live up to it. And then you have this legitimate killer who is Sheriff Newland with all of his burns and decay on his face, and he can have the warped mask and everything. Like I say, you just go for it. Really throw a few ideas out there and just see what sticks. Again, they emulated things like My Bloody Valentine. Scream was another big one. I Know What You Did Last Summer. A lot of these slashers that everybody loves. So it's like they could really get into some deep cuts here and go for some of the more, off the beaten path slashers that aren't talked about all the time. I know there was definitely a few people pointed out some references to the original Black Christmas. They could go deeper with something like that. But then you might kind of cross a little too into Scream territory if you did something more like that. I think they walked that line very well with the social media stuff, which I got to say, again, is for them using the social media angle. I usually don't like that in modern slasher movies. It does kind of, I don't know. I know it's a thing that we all have to adhere to nowadays because it's such a part of our lives. But to me, it just always sucks me out when I see that. I always am like reminded I'm watching a really new slasher at this point, where it's like, I just think those older ones have, such a vibe of their own and an aesthetic of their own. But this one did it well. And that's something I'm really hoping that they stick with it. And we did get confirmation that they are going to be taking a year off from this. So it's not coming next year. So they're not going to rush it. But they are going to take their time. The exact quote from Eli Roth is, "We're going to take a year off so we can really write a great script. We want to outdo ourselves, make it better than the first one." And that also confirms that Jeff Rendell is coming back. So really, behind the scenes, we're getting the entire team back together. The whole band is coming back together, and why not? I mean, this movie was successful, and that's great for a slasher, especially something with this much potential.
Yeah, it's absolutely all positive news thus far. Looking at it, and you look at franchises like Saw, where they were coming out every year, and it just got monotonous and the same thing over and over, and we were just kind of tired and exhausted by the end of it. Where this one, it sounds so promising for Eli Roth to say, we're going to take a year off, we're going to recalibrate everything, and we're going to come back with a strong script. Because, looking at the original Thanksgiving that spawned from the Grindhouse, just a fictional trailer. So, Eli Roth clearly has a passion for this. So he's probably been working on this for a very long time. So, when we see that finished product in its, pristine fashion, it's a product that he's been working on for a while. So you don't want to kind of rush it and, say we need to have Thanksgiving 2 out by 2024. So I like that they're going to kind of pause, take a breath, and decide on what they want to do next. Because as we all know, Eli Roth is a student of the game. He, has studied horror filmmaking. So, I'm curious to see what he's going to do and what familiar faces we may be seeing in Thanksgiving too.
I agree. And, this brings me to, I know something that's been getting, it was for like the 2 weeks that this was out, leading in up to Thanksgiving, the holiday, and during Thanksgiving, the talk of the town was, all right, so Thanksgiving's come out, it's successful, it's beautiful, it's working. Are we going to see any more of these Grindhouse trailers get this treatment now? Are they going to go back and really take a look at potentially tapping some of those other directors and seeing, would they want to try to bring this together? Because, I mean, we have Rob Zombie's Werewolf Women of the SS, which, is just ridiculous in and of itself. But, I mean, if you look at the trajectory and just how much they spent on this film and how much, Rob Zombie's budgets have been, and the kind of work that, because I know Nicolas Cage was one of the big names attached to that, it's like I could see that one coming together. I could, if the audience stays rabid enough for it. But I think honestly, the one that probably has the biggest shot right now is probably Don't. And that just makes the most sense to me. I really think that one would probably have a better chance of getting off the ground. So what's your thoughts on that, Luke? You think we'll see any more of these?
I think there's potential there. I don't know necessarily the passion. Edgar Wright, I believe, right, was the
Yes, Edgar
creator of that
Wright
one.
was Don't, and like I said, Rob Zombie, Werewolf Women of the SS.
And I don't know what Edgar Wright's attitude toward it was. Was it something that he wants to expand upon? I know Eli Roth was pretty outspoken in terms of wanting to actually make a feature. But, someone like Edgar Wright does call a lot of his shots at this point in his career. So I could easily see that one appearing in a feature length film, especially with him being able to kind of put his own spin on it and kind of really expand from just that fictional trailer. The Rob Zombie property, honestly, I'm surprised that hasn't been made, to be
Right?
honest. I think that appeals really to his fan base, and especially when he was coming off of Halloween and everything like that. I thought maybe we would get something like that. That one for me, I'm really surprised has not been made yet. I could easily see that one being made, something maybe like, probably not as serious, but how something like an Overlord, I think, worked for a lot of
Yeah.
people.
Mhm.
And then just kind of intertwining some of that wild, maybe from Dusk Till Dawn feelings as well. I think would be an intriguing take on it. But yeah, I think both those could easily be made. It's just kind of, I think Rob Zombie would be 100% down to make his. I don't know
I
about
would
Edgar
hope
Wright.
so. Yeah, I mean,
Um,
that's why I think Rob Zombies is the most realistic, but I think that Don't for Edgar Wright is the one that they're gonna want to chase because Edgar Wright has that pedigree with his name, as opposed to Rob Zombie is very much an acquired taste. But when you're talking horror fans, I mean, I don't know any horror fan who necessarily likes all of his films, but I don't know any horror fan who isn't gonna check out anything that Rob Zombie who isn't gonna check out anything that Rob Zombie makes. I mean, like anytime the guy has a movie come out, even if it looks like this is just going to be another hillbilly, fuck around, slash him up, that is probably going to have way too much cursing, even though I don't really care about that stuff. It's like for his movies, sometimes it just goes over the edge and he's going to go way too far and it's going to be goofy. I'm still going to watch it. I might not go to the theater, but I'll still check it out. It's like one of those things. I don't know any better fan base than the horror group to, you know, get that thing made and get that thing pushed out. And clearly, from the stuff we saw on the social media after Thanksgiving hit, it's like people want that. I saw many, many posts talking about that. So it's like, it really, I think, just comes down to if Rob Zombie wants to push it and if Sony wants to put money behind that as well.
yeah.
And I mean, we already saw Hobo with a Shotgun, which is definitely low budget. It's a passion project. I do own it on Blu-ray. And we also saw Machete, and Machete got a sequel. So it's like, and then I guess we got to bring that up. Are we actually going to see Machete 3 now? Is that going to happen? I don't know.
Looking at this, when these trailers had come out, the internet was a thing, but fan fiction, just discussions between horror fans of Grindhouse, Twitter discussions. Twitter didn't exist at the time, I don't think so. All these things, social media has changed in that way. So, you almost have this built-in audience that as soon as something is made like a Thanksgiving, the discourse becomes what's going to be made next, and people start clamoring for it, and they start, that becomes a discussion point with Edgar Wright. If it wasn't, 2 years ago, now it's going to be brought back up, and are we going to get a Machete and things like that? So I think now more than ever, these things are more likely to actually become tangible properties that we're going to see in the theater, because this is going to lead to more and more discussions, especially with Thanksgiving getting a sequel here and realizing that there is a lot of fans out there wanting this stuff, because as the marketing became for Thanksgiving, how many times did us personally talk about the trailer, and you saw it
All
just
the
being
time.
shared all over Twitter. So I think we could very easily be seeing way more trailer actual features spawning from this announcement of a sequel for Thanksgiving.
Absolutely. And I mean, we've already seen other brands like NECA. They're taking it full stride. They have a full line of John Carver stuff coming out. Obviously, you got the Fright Rags t-shirt that I'm insanely jealous about, but the big boy sizes, they always go fast. My advice, if anybody wants a horror t-shirt and you're like 2-3 XL, buy it right away. Otherwise, you'll never get it unless it restocks. But yeah, no, I missed the boat on that one. But yeah, I mean, shit. Even Eli Roth was showing off the merchandise that they've already sent him from NECA. It looks great, it looks wonderful. I love John Carver stuff. Like, I am so in on this, and I'm so happy that it's official, and we don't have to speculate anymore. Well, all we can do is speculate about what the film's going to be about, and that's the fun part. We don't have to sit here and say, well, maybe we'll get a sequel. well, maybe there will be a Thanksgiving too. No, it's happening. It's in the bag. I mean, shit happens. Shit can get canceled. I hope not, but I'm excited, man. This is definitely some of the best news that we could have gotten, especially after all of the recent drama and other things that we've been hearing in the horror space recently.
Yeah, absolutely. This is something that is a big win for the horror community right now. The outlook is so positive with this, coming off just, I mean, the Thanksgiving's only been in the theater for a very short time, and
Hmm.
everyone's been eating it up, and already have the announcement of the sequel. We have the look at a lot of the merchandise, so um, all everything's pointing in a very positive direction here. I'm really glad that we're getting this news. I can't wait to hear more things coming out about this, and see where they're going to take it, because there's a lot of potential here. So I think, honestly, the biggest selling point, you could say Eli Roth is a great filmmaker. You could say it was a fun concept, but let's be honest here. Thanksgiving horror really sells. So the only question now is, are we going to get our buddy Turkey as, at the very least, a cameo in Thanksgiving too?
That would be great. I would love a reference of some sort. But on that note, didn't even plan to include this in the video, but I'm going to because I don't know if you saw it. We follow Jordan Downey on Twitter, and obviously Thanksgiving seems to be the only time this guy posts. But he's talking about Thanksgiving, and he did put out a message. I meant to send this to you, but obviously it's a holiday. We're getting busy. Uh, he mentioned that any Thanksgiving fans, there's going to be a big announcement next year. He did already state it's not a new film, but I'm going to sit here and say I think it's going to be a Blu-ray. I think that we're going to at least get the first film on Blu-ray. That it's either that or it could be something else. I don't know. But he did say that there's a new announcement coming for the Thanksgiving franchise. So, hey, I'm all for it, man. If we could get more Thanksgiving horror, I'm here for it. And I bet you anything this time next year, because of the success of this film, we're going to see some streaming services pick up Thanksgiving themed horror films. I'm sure more Thanksgiving themed slashers will come from this. Are they going to be any good? Who's to say? Maybe we'll get a couple of decent knockoffs, but hey, I don't think anybody's going to stand up to John Carver anytime soon. I think him and Turkey have this holiday locked down. And yeah, I mean, the last piece that I just wanted to throw in here, we don't have to dive too deep into it, but because it is numbers, but is just that this film earned 30 million globally in the first 2 weeks in its release, which is fantastic for a low budget slasher. But I also want to mention this because we never got to mention it on a Sunday Scaries or anything, is that this film actually has the best week to week hold of 2023. So it held on. It made a lot of money from week 1 to week 2.
And coming out of our initial screening and just, hopping on Twitter and seeing what the discourse was, everyone just, absolutely loved being able to take that classic slasher formula and really implement it into a successful film like this. And, looking at Thanksgiving in general, I think it's a very fun concept. It's something that, is a little bit off the beaten path, I would say, in terms of what we've been getting lately. And, I hope studios take notice here and say,
I do too.
these unique concepts, they're a lot of fun when they're well thought out and people have a passion for it. And you can really bring some gravitas to that slasher genre. And, I think this is something that a lot of people should pay attention to. I'm glad it's getting noticed, especially at the box office, and people are really, showing up and wanting to consistently go see this film, because this is a big win for the horror community. And this really does open up the floodgates for these studios to take notice and to not necessarily abandon legacy horror, but maybe, take the foot off the gas there, and let's see what other avenues these creatives are presenting.
Like I said, I'm already petitioning for John Carver to join the family. Art the Clown with Terrifier 2. I mean, he was already there for some people, but 2 far and above cemented him. We always sing that film's praises. And I mean, next year, man, we're going to have Terrifier 3 as a Christmas movie. We got to mention that again. So it's like, that's, again, holiday horror. It's in the zeitgeist. It's popular. And I would be remiss if we didn't end the video by at least mentioning that, Thanksgiving wasn't alone. We also had the wonderful It's a Wonderful Knife as a nice little, I would say, a appetizer to this one. And I also want to mention, depending on when you're watching this, but It's a Wonderful Knife is actually going to be on Shudder starting tomorrow. So December 1st, check it out if you haven't seen it. It's great. Honestly, those two are a fantastic back to back. If you want to make a weekend out of it, where it's like, you watch Thanksgiving on Thanksgiving, Black Friday, you put on It's a Wonderful Knife, you got a good weekend. I'm telling you, if you're a horror fan, you got a good weekend. But alrighty, guys, I think that's going to wrap us up here. We'll obviously keep you guys updated with any more Thanksgiving news as it rolls out. Like we said, we do got about a year to wait, so we're going to be here for a while. But we got a lot more fun stuff to talk about. Lots of cool reviews coming to you guys. We did just see Godzilla -1, which was Luke's first time seeing a Toho produced Godzilla film in theaters, and I was pretty surprised by his reaction. So
Really
check out
good
that
stuff.
review, and definitely let us know what you guys thought. And yeah, if you can, get out there and see it, because it's not going to be in theaters in the US for long. And yeah, it's definitely worth your time. So alrighty, guys, that is all for us. So until next time, I am Dylan Newell.
And I'm Luke Janesco.
And remember, stay scared.